What's up everyone, David here, and today I am your host for a very special video of my good friend King Narukami 45. This video is the sequel to what makes Persona 4 so special, one of the biggest collaborations in all of Megaten history. As you've seen with the thumbnail and title of this video, there is a lot of creators that are on this part 2 project, and they were asked 2 questions. What makes Persona 4 so special to them, and what is their favorite Persona 4 piece of media? So sit back, relax, and let's get it on.
Persona 4 is definitely a special game for a lot of people. I know many folks for whom it was their introduction to Megami Tensei, and I know for some others it's just their favorite title in the franchise through its brighter colors and cast of good friends. By the time Persona 4 came out, I'd already been a Megaten fan for about 5 years. I'd played Demi-Kids and Raido, and even Persona 3, but I still remember being super excited knowing Persona 4 was coming so soon after FES had come out here. I wasn't really part of any groups or anything at that time, and this was before Persona 3 for the win, so my only real source of info on the game was reading translated Famitsu scans from some random dude's blog. I remember being so excited that Persona 4 was going to be this small-town murder mystery RPG, and I was loving the Persona designs that we were being introduced to. And the best surprise of all was I remember it was on my birthday that I got that Atlas Faithful email announcing when the game was coming out stateside. I slapped down a pre-order with GameStop as soon as I could so I could get that free art book they were giving out, which I'm pretty sure I still have, by the way. The funny thing is, I never actually got a chance to pick up the game myself. I'd ended up moving from Maine to Georgia about a month before the game came out, and I had my friend pick it up and mail it to me. So it was actually an extra week or 2 before I was able to even play it. And then once I played it, well, look, admittedly I never loved Persona 4 as much as I did 3. Maybe I was just blinded by nostalgia, or maybe I just never got bowled over by the party in the same way as other people. But I still remember enjoying my first playthrough of it. Eventually Golden came out for the Vita, and I remember loving that one too. In fact, there's one specific part in Golden that still stands out to me as my favorite moment in the entire Persona series. But I can't talk about it without getting into spoilers, so if you want to skip by those, you can jump ahead to this time. The moment in Golden where you've done Adachi's social link and you find out he's the culprit and you follows him alone into the TV and his link changes from jester to lust, or hunger in the English version, that is such a powerful scene to me. I adore that moment, because seeing how the true nature of a bond can change the arcana itself is this fantastic blending of story with game mechanics that I really don't think we've seen much of since. Seriously, I still get chills from that scene. I love every single bit of it. But I guess when you look at it all and it really boils down to it, what makes Persona 4 so special to me? I can sum that up with one sentence from the game.
His name is Kanji Tatsumi.
Like, for real. He is one of my favorite characters in the entire series. He has fantastic lines, a good story arc, a really memorable social link. Kanji rocks. And I can't imagine I'd have liked Persona 4 nearly as much if he weren't in it. Which is really interesting, because if you think about it, he's probably the one character you could take out without changing the game too drastically. The other question King asked me was what my favorite piece of Persona 4 media is, and evoker to my head, I'd probably just say Golden, because I think it's hard to top Persona 4 itself as far as Persona 4 related media goes. And yet, to me, Persona 4, I'll always see it as the title that made Atlas branch out and explore new ventures with a singular title like this. Sure, other games got the occasional tie-in phone game or something, but with Persona 4, we got an anime, we got fighting games, we got rhythm games, and I just loved seeing them be willing to take a Megaten property and explore it in a variety of genres like this. While I don't think any of the spin-offs or what have you top Persona 4 or Golden, there's always something that really stands out to me and leaves a really strong impression in pretty much everything they've done. Arena brought us Labris, who is one of my favorite characters in all of Persona. I like Labris. Ultimax brought in Minazuki, and more specifically Tsukiyomi, who happens to be one of my top 10 personas of all time. Until Strikers, I considered Dancing All Night to be the strongest storyline of any of the spin-offs, and even the anime gave us Aika Nakamura, who... I mean, just look at her, she's cute as a button. I have a figurine of her. No matter how harsh I am on Persona 4, and I admit I do tend to be, I acknowledge that it's a good game, and something really special it did was expand itself through different genres and methods of storytelling. There really is no denying the impact that it had on the overall series, whether you see it as a positive or a negative. Also, Kanji is great. For real. I love Kanji.
What's going on, guys? I'm Tony for you, and I'm here answering questions about Persona 4. King Narukami asked me to come on, and I couldn't be more excited talking about this game. What makes Persona 4 so special to me is a question I've given a lot of thought to, but never really been able to put into words. I may seem like somewhat of an outsider with these games, since I never played them as a kid. I didn't have a PlayStation or Vita or anything like that. The first Megaten game I ever played was Persona 4, and that was when I was in college. So believe me when I say I have no rose-tinted goggles and no nostalgia is being placed upon my views here. Persona 4 is one of the best games I've ever played. It's almost like the game was made for me. The characters, story, setting, all just perfect. And now, after a long time of playing more SMT games than I'd care to admit, Persona 4 still stands at the top as being my favorite one. I'm someone who values characters and stories far above any other aspect of video games. And to this day, I've never played a game that even comes close to the perfection that is Persona 4's cast of characters. I mean, we all know the greats like Ryotaro Dojima and Nanako Dojima, but even seemingly unimportant, highly missable characters like Naoki Konishi can give you some of the best character writing you've ever read. The main party themselves give off this real sense of camaraderie even other Persona games have struggled to capture. The little arguments Yosuke and Chie get into, the awkward situations that Kanji and Naoto get into, and the charming interactions that Rise and Yu get into really give off the sense that you're friends. You all genuinely love and care for each other and enjoy each other's company. The setting of Inaba is also a very important aspect of the game. Having itself take place in the countryside really lends to its small-scale appeal. Persona 4's core, in the beginning at least, is a very small-scale journey. The main cast banding together because they know only they have what it takes to solve this local murder case. Over the course of that journey, you'll meet tons and tons of unique characters that you'll love getting to know. They all reside in this small town, and many of them won't even know the adventure you're on. The theme of accepting your true self, faults and all of this game, really strikes a chord with anyone who plays it. Seeing these characters at their absolute lowest point and then take steps to bettering themselves is really endearing. These aren't just party members, they're people with their own trauma. And together, as friends, they'll move forward and grow, going on to accept each other and themselves. I'm the kind of guy that likes to finish games, experience a full story and then be done with it. But this is one of the few games where I just didn't want it to end. Even to this day, seeing these characters again gives me a weird sense of melancholy as I know that the game's over. I guess that's more of a testament about how much I love the game. As for my favorite Persona 4 media, I'd have to say Golden. Even though I've made my distaste for Marie as a character known on more than one occasion, and I genuinely don't like the new Chie voice actress nearly as much as the base game, the boatloads of new content and quality of life really make this one of the best games I've ever played, as well as it being the most accessible game. I mean, it's on Steam after all. Go play it if you haven't. I took any excuse I could to replay this game, and any excuse to redate Naoto, my beloved. Thanks King Narukami for having me on.
What makes Persona 4 special for me? When I think about such a question, many things come to mind. How Persona 4 embodies friendship better than maybe any other game or anime I've come across. How just listening to the title screen theme gets me emotional and washes over me with a wave of nostalgia. How it makes me remember that the cast of Persona 4 is one of my favorite casts in anything ever. It's a loaded question because Persona 4 for me is special in countless ways. Just to give you some brief backstory, I got introduced to Persona and SMT as a whole with Persona 3. It was unlike anything I had played before and immediately became one of my favorite games of all time. So much so that I immediately needed a sequel, and not long after, we got it. And while I got everything I wanted out of Persona 4, it was quite a departure from a lot of things I liked in Persona 3. It had a more upbeat tone and color palette, the music direction was different, it was set in a quiet town instead of a busy city, and this time we were out to solve a murder mystery. It was different, but I kinda love it just as much as Persona 3. At the start, I said Persona 4 embodies friendship, and I mean that. And not the terrible friendship equals Deus Ex Machina and BS power-ups that you see in stuff like shonen anime. I mean that by the end of the adventure, the cast of Persona 4 felt like a genuine group of friends that I had gotten to know. Often in RPGs, people will meet up and form a party or alliance because their interests align and they have a shared objective. Even Persona 3 is guilty of this. But in Persona 4, this group goes out of their way to hang out with each other even when it has nothing to do with the murder mystery. They get into common teenage shenanigans, study together, sleep over at each other's houses. It may sound kinda mundane, but it's these little things that accumulate into the cast of Persona 4 becoming one of my favorites of all time. At the end of every RPG with a great cast of characters I get invested into, I feel a tinge of sadness, like saying goodbye to a group of actual friends I made. Personas 3 and 5 also gave me this feeling, but I think Persona 4 was the strongest, because of how tight-knit and believable this group of friends was. Whenever people ask me to rank Personas 3 through 5, I always tell them the same thing. I love them all so much that I really can't. But the one thing I will praise Persona 4 with is that it has the strongest group of characters hands down of the three. And that helps make the rest of the game so enjoyable. The murder mystery, exploring the town of Inaba, the dungeon exploration, the ups and downs of the story, it's all made enjoyable because at the core of it all is this lovable group of friends elevating the other aspects of the game. Now, I of course played Persona 4 on the day of its North American release, and since then it's expanded to include an updated version with Golden, 2 fighting games, 2 anime, and more. And I love the extended universe of Persona 4, but my favorite piece of P4 media still has to be the original game, just because of those nostalgic feelings I now have for it as my initial exposure to the game. Yeah, Golden is an overall improvement in general, but nothing can replicate the magical feeling of that first playthrough.
Yo, what's up everyone, it's D-Sips. Thank you for coming through, and shoutouts to King Arakami for inviting me on for What Makes Persona 4 So Special, Part 2. Thank you, King Arakami, for allowing me to be here, and I'm going to let you guys know what I think makes Persona 4 so special to me. Persona 4 is special to me because it was a game that truly made me feel immersed within an RPG more than I ever felt before, from the great cast of characters, to their amazing chemistry, the great dungeon designs, the overall bumpin' soundtrack, to the awesome JRPG combat gameplay, and more make Persona 4 a truly amazing and fun special game unlike any other. And when it comes to my favorite Persona 4 media, it's easily Persona 4 Golden because of Marie. Come on, yo, Marie's the best waifu. Come on, Marie. Oh, Marie, oh, Marie, oh!
So what makes Persona 4 Golden so special to me? Well, I would have to say the fact that it was my first Persona game. Not really just my first Persona game, but my first Megaten game. I had never played any of the games in the series till then, and something that captivated me so much, like personally, about Persona 4 was the music and the atmosphere, which are things that I find super important to a game, honestly, because it builds the world better and it makes you feel more like connected to the game. And I've always enjoyed music and loved music, and I've also loved video games. It's like the perfect blend of good characters, a nice story, great music, and atmosphere. And I feel like it all sort of went full circle with me whenever I got to finally play the game and stream the game to everybody, because it was such a full circle sort of moment. Like the game that really brought me in, all the people experiencing the game with me for the first time, because even though I known about the game for a couple of years, I had never fully played it because it wasn't available on Steam until 2 or 3 years after I had already known about the series. Unfortunately, I had to end up playing Persona 5 first, which, nothing wrong with Persona 5, but it was just available and easy for me to get, and I really didn't want to emulate Persona 4, and yeah, you could just play Persona 4 on the PS3, but I wanted to play Golden. You know, I'd seen that there was an alternate endings, and the game was a little bit better, I think, through Golden, and had a lot more tracks, which I really loved from the game, and that was what I was wanting to experience the most. So I actually took some time, waited until the game came out on a platform that I could have. I didn't think that was going to even happen, but when it came out on Steam, dude, I was ecstatic. I was so happy that had finally came out, and I was finally able to play it, and getting to experience it and appreciate it with so many people in the chat who also appreciated the game just as much as I did, and they were super ecstatic about it. They didn't spoil the game for me. They sat by and watched and really just liked to see me experience it, and I loved experiencing it with them. So if I had to take a personal note, I would say streaming the game for the first time and having that full-on, like, full circle moment where I finally got to play the game and enjoy it with everybody else who told me that the game was going to be that good. Moving on to question 2, so like my favorite piece of Persona 4 media, I would personally have to say the dancing game. And I know, King, I know for sure that you also feel the exact same about this because of that video that we did where we ranked a lot of the dancing tracks and whatnot together. And it was such a fun video to do, and I think you know just how important the Persona 4 dancing game is. And I'm a person who loves rhythm games. Like I said, I love music. Music is one of the most important key elements, I think, in a video game, next to atmosphere and like character and world building. So whenever they made a rhythm game for Persona 4, it's a no-brainer, man. It's a great game. Persona 3 and Persona 5's dancing games don't have such a good story to them, but Persona 4's dancing game actually has a pretty good story. And I think that's one of the things I love about Persona 4 in general is there's so many different pieces of content. You have the base game, Golden, you have the dancing game, you have the fighting game, right? You have so many different pieces of content from Persona 4. There's so much to experience than just the Persona 4 like Golden game. Even if you play through Persona 4 Golden, there's still a lot more that you can do with the game. And a lot of it's canon, a lot of it's real. Like, it actually is considered canon for the game. Which is really interesting. But my favorite piece of media, like outside of Persona 4 Golden, I would have to say is the dancing game. The dancing game is so fun, has great tracks. It's a challenging game if you actually try and play on like the King crazy modes. It's super fun as well, and of course, you know, it's Persona, it's Atlas. Of course, it's banger tracks, man. Absolutely awesome tracks. To be fair, even when we did the video where we rated all of the different songs, including some of the Persona 4 Golden and like some of the other songs from other games, it was so fun doing that because there was almost no song that we thought was like super bad. Like nothing was like below a C, like it felt like. Like there was a couple tracks like that weren't very good. Some of the remixes, you know what I'm talking about, that were not very good. I recommend people to watch that video, by the way, if you haven't. It was such a fun one, and if you love music, you'll love that video. But none of the tracks necessarily are like below like C tier, you know what I mean? They're all pretty good songs, even in like the base game. Still pretty good, and Golden adds on a bunch more. The dancing game has a bunch of remixes of the other songs from the base game and from Golden. Like, dude, they're so good. Such a fun game. If you're out there and you have not played the regular Persona, you know, if you play Persona 4, Golden, or just the base game or whatever, the dancing game is by far the next thing I would recommend you do. It is so fun. By far has to be my favorite thing outside of just the, you know, normal Persona 4 games. But I wanted to say thank you for letting me be a part of this video, King. I always appreciate it, man. I love collabing with you, and I love talking about Persona, especially Persona 4. Anytime I got a chance to talk about Persona 4 dancing, you know I'm gonna take that chance. But thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate being here. I'll see you next time, guys.
What's up, people? For those who don't know me, I'm Oziak from the channel of the same name, and I make videos talking about the writing of Megaten games, among other things. When it comes to Persona 4, the iteration that's always stuck with me is Persona 4 the animation. While I've always loved the game, the way it was adapted to an anime format managed to give me this extra burst of love that I'll always hold on to. You see, Persona 4's anime has a trick up its sleeve that the game doesn't necessarily have, and that's the role of Narukami as a fully developed protagonist. Seeing this quiet kid thrust into a new setting, building up his bonds to the point of caring for them more than ever, it both manages to be lighthearted yet also emotionally gripping with how it's presented. The show has this careful pacing to it that wouldn't be possible if they simply copy-pasted the game script into the anime, and it gives us these awesome creative ventures such as the two-parter with Detective Nanako, or the fantastic execution of the King's game, or heck, even emotional beats such as everything past the Namatame fight. it's all just so phenomenal. And it elevates a story that I already loved into something unforgettable. Also, Sky's the Limit is an utter bop of an opening, which is nothing new for Persona, but man, this one just elates me whenever I hear it. Overall, Persona 4 is just a fantastic, beautiful game that really sells the importance of friendship and just, man, it's just too good.
Hey guys, this is Dominic Pie here. I want to give a big shout out to King Narukami for letting me be on this video. It's a privilege and an honor to be a part of this Persona 4 video on why it's so special to me. And yeah, not only is Persona 4 my favorite JRPG of all time, it's my #1 favorite game, period. So I would not miss the opportunity to gush and talk about this game. And what makes Persona 4 so special for me, a number of reasons. It's kind of like the complete package and everything I want in a JRPG. But the one thing that really resonated with me the most are the characters. I love the whole cast. They all feel like real friends to me. It was sad to say goodbye by the end of the game. I'm originally from Southeast Asia, from Thailand, and a lot of things that these characters went through as far as like camping trips and school trips and a lot of stuff that happened in the game I went through as a kid, as a young adult. So this game brings back a lot of nostalgia, more simpler time, more innocent time. So it just makes me think back. And one of my good buddies is just like Yosuke. So that's why this game really resonated with me. That also, I really, love this game so much. And with all the characters that I like all the performance and voice acting. I have this project I've been working on. I frequent quite a lot of conventions. I have this Persona 4 wall scroll. I've been going to conventions for about 7 or 8 years. And my goal eventually is to get every single voice actor of the game to sign this in some shape or form. I got 4 of them now, about halfway done. I got people like, like Laura Beatty as Rise. I got the Japanese Naoto voice actor, and Amanda Win Lee as Yukiko, of course, and Yuri Lowenthal as Yosuke. But yeah, still got to get the rest. And hopefully, maybe next year conventions open up more and more safe to go. I'll track down more of these voice actors and complete this. But I'm going on a tangent. A number of reasons why I love the game, but it's mostly because of the cast and characters and kind of like, friends I wish I had or still had. But other than that, as far as my favorite iteration of Persona 4, there's just so many. All of them are special in their own way. Of course, I'm going to name drop Persona 4, the game, and Golden, obviously. But I want to give out shout outs to other ones. The dancing games are really good as well. Big fan of the songs and all the dances in that, and fighting games are great. But I want to give one shout in particular, and that is Persona 4, the animation. Not Golden, the original one. They came out pretty close to Golden as well. I believe is also 2012. They all the main voice actors reprise their roles, and yeah, it's not a substitute for the game by any means. So you just you can't watch that instead of playing the game. You just still play the main game, but it's a great complimentary. It's a nice slice of life, very funny show. A lot of stuff that didn't happen in the game, it happens in anime, like that ramen girl daughter. I forgot her name, but she delivers the ramen throughout the show, and just other funny stuff like Nanako calling Big Bro a man whore. That was a highlight as well. So, and the most important thing about the anime, I think it really fleshes out Yu Narukami as a character. In the game, he's of course the silent protagonist. We don't really get kind of a personality with him. It's more like a self-insert thing. But I think with the anime, it really solidified his character as just like a quiet, humble but very cool protagonist. Just way too cool kind of guy, and one I strive to be one day. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for me. Thanks King Narukami for having me on this video and share the love of Persona 4. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
When it comes to Persona 4, there are so many different aspects of it you could choose to single out, but the part of the game that was always the most special to me was the rendition of the setting of the game, Inaba, a quiet rural Japanese town where you live with your uncle and niece. From the way the streets, buildings, and area were carefully designed, to the characters' placements, design, and overall personalities, you can tell it was carefully crafted with attention to detail. Every segment and street has its own personal touches. For example, you can interact with them by eating outdoors in the central shopping district or fish in the Samigawa floodplains. or even pray at the local shrine and more. It was a combination of all these things that made Inaba just always feel like a small but cohesive environment to me. When it comes to Persona 4 media, my favorite chunk is actually a spin-off of the series called Persona Q. But to preface that, I have to add that PQ was actually my first interaction with the series way back in the day, and inevitably started my love for it. When it comes to the surrounding media, there are multiple manga series, one specifically featuring the cast of 4, as well as a game titled Shadow of the Labyrinth featuring the cast. It also has some of my favorite artistic renditions of the characters, as they are put into a cutesy chibi form that was even carried over into the sequel, New Cinema Labyrinth. It may be one of the more unpopular opinions, but I've always enjoyed the fan service and dungeon crawling action, along with the cast's goofy antics. You can't go wrong if you're going to pick up anything from this spin-off.
I first played Persona 4 back in 2013. It was actually the third Megaten game that I beat ever. First one I beat was Nocturne, and then I beat SMT4 when that released, and I figured like, oh, let me play more of these games. Had a Vita, so I got Persona 4 Golden. This was like fall 2013. I just finished SMT4. Played it. Initially, it was like, oh, this is very teenage heavy. Well, with like the the J-pop music, which at first I was kind of like, what? But I've grown to love. In fact, most of my love for the game is still shown on how often I listen to the soundtrack, because the soundtrack is fucking perfect. I mean, the story made a huge impact on me. I can't talk about Persona 4 without talking about the relationship between Dojima, Nanako, and you, the player. Staying with your family in the countryside. The story. I mean, everyone knows about the whole mystery and trying to figure out who's the killer, what's going on. Doing all that with the group of friends that you meet. And initially I thought it was kind of cheesy, but the whole theme of the game is like not giving up your pursuit, whether it be like finding your true self, accepting your faults as your true self, not giving in, not stopping until you know the whole story, which plays through to the very end. And it's a very meaningful thing, much more so than the other two Hashino Persona games I've done. I sometimes liken the whole accepting your true self to themes from the first Persona game, especially with some of Maki's friends. My favorite thing about Persona is the ones that make you kind of reflect on yourself, as cheesy as it sounds. I know many games claim to do that, but Persona 4 I feel does a really good job at that. I don't want to get too spoiler heavy, but like the fake or the fake out sort of, if you get the bad ending, I feel like, because I got the bad ending at first, and I feel like watching the bad ending really makes you appreciate the other endings, because you get to see like what happens when you don't, like when you give in, when you don't go that extra step, when you don't question further. It's really profound. I think the game is it's my favorite of the newer Persona games. Definitely, it's actually my I guess it's my third favorite after 2 and 1. But yeah, to me it means a lot. It means finding your true self. I mean, that's like the name of the fucking song. Everything's pursuing your true self. Only thing I don't like is the final boss, but we might not talk about that. But yeah, I wish that they would release a game like that again, where the story isn't paper thin, and actually is profound. I mean, just Kanji and Naoto alone, them two could carry any video game, because their stories and struggles were very, very well done, very well executed. I can't talk about how much I love Persona 4's story without talking about how much I love Naoto and Kanji. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it. If you haven't played it, what are you doing? Does it matter with you? It's like $9 on Steam or some shit. I don't know. It's something that I think every Megaten fan should play. I think every Megaten fan should play every game, but Persona 4 is definitely up there. The music is definitely, I touched on it earlier, but I listened to the soundtrack earlier today to get like an inspiration for this solo recording, and god fucking damn, that soundtrack is good. Even songs like Heartbreak, which the first time I heard, I thought was real lame. I can't fucking stop listening to that shit. Heaven is a damn good song. Almighty, Corridor. I mean, so many songs. Even Reach Out to the Truth, Trying to Make History. I don't know. The soundtrack's amazing. Only song I don't like is Backside of TV, but we're not going to talk about that, because that song sucks. Every other song is damn good. Go listen to Fog right now. What are you doing? Go do it right now. Yeah, play Persona 4.
Hello everyone, I am Thanos Pagivis. You may have seen me pop up in your Twitter timeline at some point, especially if you're active every day. But for those who don't know who I am, I'm a Megaten content creator, mostly focused on Persona, though I do talk about Shin Megami Tensei from time to time. I've only been a fan of the Megami Tensei series for about 4 years now, so I'm relatively new to the fandom, and truth be told, I was genuinely surprised when King Narukami asked me to take part in one of his videos.
Ironic of me to say that because at the time I'm recording this I have like 3 times the amount of YouTube subscribers he has.
So, Persona 4. There's quite a bit that I can say about this game, so let's jump right in. What makes Persona 4 so special to me is not the gameplay, the story, the music, the characters, or even the game itself, though they are special in their own way. No, what truly makes Persona 4 so special to me is how I got to play the game. Prior to playing Golden, I was working on an Intel NUC mini PC, which is basically a PC that is efficient for anything other than gaming. All my old renders, videos on my old YouTube channel, all made on said mini PC. When a mutual of mine on Twitter bought me Golden on Steam back when it was first released on the platform, I was still using my said mini PC. So when I managed to install Golden on it,
After taking a fucking 13-hour download,
I opened the game, and the cutscene for Shadow World
crashes in the first millisecond.
Yeah, so apparently the PC port for Persona 4 Golden is programmed so that the cutscenes do not work with Windows 7. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, my mini PC was using Windows 7 in 2021. Yeah, I know, I'm just as surprised as you are. So, yeah, TLDR, my mini PC had a snowball's chance in hell of running Persona 4 Golden. And so, I did what any reasonable person with a partially large Twitter following would do. Get a job to gather my—
Just fucking kidding!
I ended up making a Ko-fi. And not one day after making said Ko-fi account,
Someone tries to cancel me on Twitter.
So yeah, to make a long story short, there was this one guy on Twitter that got mad that I made my Ko-fi goal called a new PC so that I can finally play Persona 4 Golden. Apparently he got mad because he thought I needed a new PC just to play one game. And also that dude was known for leaking people's privates without their permission. Yeah. And so for the next few days after that, there was some drama that some people supported me, some people didn't. But in the end, I managed to get the certain amount of money that I asked to get a new PC. And I got it. And I finished Persona 4 Golden. Yeah, it took me like 2 weeks. And I also had school in said weeks. So yeah. Oh, yeah, and also the dude that tried to cancel me on Twitter, his account got suspended a few days after that, and I never saw him again.
Hey everybody, Atlas Community here. If you don't know me, I run a Twitter account focusing on Shin Megami Tensei, Persona, and pretty much all other Atlas games in general because I'm super passionate about them. That being said, when King Narukami 45 approached me asking me if I would like to talk about why Persona 4 is so special, I just couldn't say no. So I'd like to extend a huge thank you to him because it's such an honor to be here, talking about a game I care so much about. To start off, Persona 4 was one of the first Atlas games I've ever played, so it already holds a special place in my heart. The first thing that really appealed to me is the atmosphere the game puts you in. The setting of Inaba compared to Persona 5 is so small and upbeat, but it ends up flourishing in a way every other game hasn't been able to. With such a confined setting, you can easily walk through such a scenic, inspired landscape that feels just like it has a rich history to it. On top of a really good, relaxing vibe of Inaba that already has, Persona 4's soundtrack ends up fitting the world so perfectly. The first time I ever heard the song Heartbeat Heartbreak was when I was walking home from school. It instantly blew my mind with how moody it was. It was honestly so striking to me that it's a memory I will never forget, at least for a long time. The music plays depending on whether the weather is set the mood perfectly with the story. On sunny days, your affection gives you a carefree feeling of being freed from school and hanging out with your friends. The previous mentioned Heartbeat Heartbreak on cloudy days is so groovy and slow-paced with a slight sense of sorrow portrayed throughout the lyrics. It all comes together for rainy days, where you're embraced not only by the music track but by the ambience of the rainfall. Well, it's pretty in a way. There's an unsettling feeling that you haven't rescued the target yet. It quietly tells you someone's life is in peril if you don't hurry up. Inaba feels cozy and comfortable, which makes the dire moments of the game more unsettling. And I've never played a game that's been able to capture this feeling so well. Another strong suit of this game is just how well developed the main cast of characters are in this game, which is a huge part thanks to the premise of the game accepting the ugly parts of your inner psyche and becoming stronger part of that. On top of that, they're all very likable and distinguishable from one another. They all feel like a group of friends and have their own friendship dynamics. When it comes to all Persona 4 media that exists, my favorite has to be the anime. It captures what makes the game so special and manages to make it feel completely different at the same time. Even being the first time I've actually heard the silent protagonist speak, which actually caught me off guard. The animation is beautifully well done, as well as on top of that being absolutely hilarious. On a personal level, one of the parts of the game that I really appreciate is the theme of accepting your true self. We all have ugly sides of ourselves we don't want to share.
Hey there everyone, Craftium here, how you doing? First of all, I'd like to thank King Narukami for giving me this opportunity to gush about Persona 4, as it's easily one of my favourite games of all time, but I'm not really sure how I'd cover it on my own channel since replaying a long JRPG is a very daunting task. First of all, I think what really makes Persona 4 so special to me is its characters. A good cast of characters can carry an RPG, and the cast of P4 are a group of friends that I hold a very special place in my heart for. Their stories aren't always super complex or particularly groundbreaking, but their smaller and more intimate scope really makes them feel a lot more real, and none of them hit me quite as hard as Kanji's did. I typically have a bad time projecting myself onto a character. I can relate to them on a human level, sure, but on a personal level, I can't always feel the true impact that I really feel like I'm supposed to. And this is something that even extends to silent self-insert protagonists, as typically I write a personality for them in my head instead of just making them me, with P4 Arena and the anime being my basis for you, for example. Kanji, however, was probably the first time I've ever had a character truly resonate with me. I was bullied a lot throughout middle school for my interests, and despite not being gay, this was not exactly the nicest school, and during 2008-2009, and I was probably called just about every single homophobic insult under the sun. Something that I probably didn't exactly help myself with during this period of my life, since I was a theatre kid and also was moving on from shonen to shoujo anime at the time, but hey ho. Over the years, I lost a lot of my friends, or at the very least felt uncomfortable spending time with them due to who else would be there. I felt completely isolated, and while my last few months were starting to look up a bit, it was ultimately going to a completely different high school and starting fresh that really saved me. It was a few years later when I first discovered Persona, and after finally getting my hands on a Vita TV to play Persona 4 Golden, I got to Kanji, and I remember welling up going through his arc and social link. I was lucky enough to get out of my situation, but when I looked at Kanji, I was able to see a version of myself who was never able to escape all of that, and all of that negative emotion just carried on festering and getting to him until much later in life. I remember crying my eyes out in the spare room, knowing that, for definite this time, I wasn't alone. But yeah, outside of all of that, I just loved how cozy and feel-good the game felt. It was always very comfy to play, and the battle system and fusion mechanics being very different to anything I'd played before really went a long way too. As for my favourite piece of Persona 4 media, while Golden in general is the obvious answer for the reasons I just went over, I also hold an extremely soft spot in my heart for Persona 4 Arena and Ultimax. Outside of always seeing Soul Hackers on the 3DS store, and apparently my brother owning Nocturne, or Lucifer's Call as it's called over here, Arena was actually my first contact with the series when I went to a game shop and I saw the limited edition came with a big yellow vinyl and thought to myself, wow, that game must have some amazing music to come with that. Unfortunately at the time it was a little bit too far behind the counter for me to properly read, and the guy working there could not be bothered to tell me. Fast forward a few months and I went to see my brother at uni, who was a huge fighting game fan, and after all the previous visits of being trounced in MVC3 and Street Fighter 4, I discovered that he had the very game that I found at that game shop. Now, after playing it with him for a few hours and absolutely loving it, I downloaded the OST and listened to it for every single long car ride during that summer, and that's ultimately what got me interested in the series. I also really loved how it merged both Persona 4 and Persona 3 together, and I think it's really cool being able to see the P3 characters all grown up at this point. Labrys's story in general is also something that really stood out to me as well. I think the story of Persona 4 Arena and Ultimax is just as good as Persona 5 Strikers, but unfortunately is just presented in the most awful way possible, and people kind of overlook it for that fact. If you haven't experienced it yet, I think the best way to do so, with the least amount of pointless fluff possible, is to actually read the manga for Arena, and then play Ultimax until you unlock the P3 route, and then instantly abandon the P4 route for it, so Labrys can finally be the main character of her own story. I know Ultimax has a quote-unquote true ending, but honestly I don't care, it's so much worse.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's King Narakami, and I know you haven't seen or heard my voice in this entire video so far, so I thought I'd just close it out right quick. Instead of talking about what makes Persona 4 special to me, I did that in part 1. I'm going to talk about what the first What Makes Persona 4 So Special part 1 video meant to me, because I actually have a really long story with this if you're interested. And this is right off the cuff right here. I don't have any script. I'm just speaking from the heart right here. So I was very interested in content creation, and I had streamed a little bit on Twitch, streamed some P5 Royal, some Yakuza 0. Never really was like my thing. To this day, I don't really like streaming that much, but it's fun when I'm doing like Persona 4 dancing, and I get to interact with everybody. But I really wanted to get into content creation. I had started watching people like, Kuro from the Midnight Channel. I started watching Yarly's video, David. I just saw all these great content creators, and I thought I really want in on that too, because it's, I like doing that kind of stuff, video editing and everything. So I came up with the idea of doing What Makes Persona 4 So Special, because right before the pandemic hit in February of 2020, I actually bought a PlayStation TV just to play Persona 4 Golden, which is crazy in and of itself, and then the pandemic happened and all that, and so I got bored, and I'm like, oh, I want to make videos. So I released this video, got in contact with a bunch of different content creators, released pretty much my first video as a content creator, What Makes Persona 4 So Special. And the day I released it, November 20th, 2020, tragedy really struck my life. I lost someone that's very important to me. That really took a toll on me mentally and really got me down. And so at first I was thinking about just canceling the video the day of, because I just didn't feel like doing anything. But I let the video premiere, and at the end of it I just saw so many people come into my YouTube channel, which was not big at the time. I just uploaded my streams, which got like 13 views. And so many people came through and just showed their love for me and supported the video. And I mean, that really meant the world to me. And that's the moment where I was like, I can't give up on this, because I was just ready to quit. So that loss hurt more than anything. And I'm still trying to deal with it now, even a year to the day. Because as of this recording, it's November 14th, and it's almost a 1-year anniversary of that tragedy and my first video. But that's pretty much what made the the deciding factor on this is what I want to do. So many people came and supported me at the time, even though I had not created a video before, and that support meant so much to me. And through that video, I've met so many awesome people: David, Kuro, Rising, Riku. I mean, I promise I'm not forgetting anyone's names, but you know who you are. All the people in this video I've had contact with pretty regularly, and I just appreciate everything you guys have done for me. So that's what makes the first video special for me, because it gave me something to do when I wasn't exactly in the best state of mind. By the way, if you heard any scratching noises in the background, that's my cat, Ellie. Of course, when I'm recording, she hasn't been active all day. She starts doing that. But yeah, this has been What Makes Persona 4 So Special Part 2. I want to thank all the content creators involved in this. I really can't thank you enough for supporting the video either. It means the world to me. This whole series means a lot to me. And so I hope to keep on making great content for you guys. And thank you so much for joining the video. I might have a live podcast soon, having special, not really content creators, but you on the podcast, the listener. Come on, talk about Persona 4 with me. I'll be announcing more about that very soon. But thank you all so much for joining the video. Persona 4 is very special to me, and this video series is also very special to me. I'll see you guys in the next video. King out.